And now, with the end of 1984 in sight, a look back at the major events of the year in the southwest and some of the more humorous moments as captured by the cameras in Spotlight Review of the Year. Dick Woodacre sets the ball rolling. Dick Woodacre?
All right, let's go!
Hello and a warm, if somewhat windy welcome to a rather special edition of Spotlight. A chance to look back over the past 12 months at some of the more memorable events which have taken place here in the southwest.
Yes, it was quite a year with Spotlight covering both the serious and the humorous throughout the region. 1984 saw a whole series of demonstrations and protests both in the towns and in the countryside. It saw excitement as well and also something for the soccer fans to cheer about. It also brought drama at sea and some spectacular sailing too.
But almost inevitably it was the weather which dominated many of the news stories to come out of the southwest. Whether it was the sun or the wind or the rain, barely a month went past when there wasn't too much of it or too little of it. And sadly, those extremes of weather also brought tragedy.
January brought the worst storms of the year. 16 people died after a Liberian-registered freighter, the Radiant Med, sank off the Channel Islands. The bodies were brought into Guernsey with the fishery protection vessel HMS Orkney involved in the search. The St. Peter Port lifeboat picked up 9 survivors. The bravery of the crew and coxswain was later recognised by the RNLI. January also brought the worst flooding of the year, with Somerset and parts of Devon being the hardest hit areas. Taunton and Yeovil suffered extensive flooding and Tiverton was virtually cut off. Swollen rivers caused hundreds of acres of farmland to be flooded. In all, the floods caused thousands of pounds worth of damage. They came on the same day that nature played another cruel trick. This time it was South Devon. A freak whirlwind literally tore through Teignmouth. This school roof was one of dozens damaged in the town. The whirlwind took in about a mile of Teignmouth and caused extensive damage. Miraculously, no one was injured, although residents were left shocked hours afterwards.
We saw everything just being lifted up in the air and going right through the air. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everything. Weeds, glass, asbestos roof, trees, everything. Just being lifted.
But there was more. Gales flattened one of Plymouth's air domes. The inflatables were used as exhibition centres. £100,000 worth of damage was caused. Back at sea, lorries and their contents were wrecked after storms hit a cross-channel ferry sailing from Plymouth to Roscoff. Drivers described the crossing as the worst they'd ever known. From the ridiculous to the sublimely ridiculous. As if the gales and torrential downpours had never happened, summer greeted us with the spectacle of Cornish Red Indians performing a rain dance. The drought had arrived. As the reservoirs fell to below half their capacity and then dropped in some cases to less than a third, we were reminded constantly to recall the spirit of '76. We were told to save it, with the warning that if we didn't, then standpipes and rationing were just around the corner. Schemes were launched to bring extra supplies to badly hit areas such as North Devon. But as August turned to September, there was no real break in the weather. Despite this, rationing continued to be just a threat. A hosepipe ban and other similar restrictions were all that were actually in force.
We're certainly not panicking. Indeed, there might well be argued that one should have taken these measures earlier. One was hoping, of course, and indeed I still hope, that people will recognise the seriousness and ration themselves voluntarily, because there's no way that the board or myself wish in any way to impose rationing, and that's what rota cuts are all about.
In August, Drought Minister Ian Gow came to see the region's reservoirs, and sure enough, the skies opened. Despite the downpour, caution was definitely the message.
The really important thing is that people should not think that just because we've had half an inch of rain that we can therefore relax. We can't do anything of the kind.
It really just buys a couple of days at most. It doesn't really solve any of the problems.
Yes.
You could already see next day's newspaper headlines. Drought? What drought? Still, it was publicity not to be missed. But the drought certainly was continuing. On Lundy, the situation was desperate. Swimming and bathing became the same thing. All water, other than drinking water, was being pumped from the sea.
You don't have a bath, it's as simple as that. There's just no chance at all. All you do is 3 inches of water in the bowl and do your best. Wash your clothes in what's left over afterwards. It's not ideal, but just got to make do with what there is.
By late September, it was all change. Restrictions were lifted, and now the problem was high tides. Thousands of sandbags were brought out for what we were told could be the highest tide since 1944. It was the threat of high winds on the autumn equinox that resulted in extensive emergency measures.
All right?
All precautions were taken. In the end, the wind saved the day, and the region generally breathed an enormous sigh of relief. When the real floods did come, they inevitably caught everyone by surprise. Again, it was North Devon which took the brunt. Local people demanded to know when they were going to be protected from flooding. At sea, a Swiss sail training ship needed protection after being caught in the storms off Falmouth. No fewer than 5 vessels were involved in the incident. The Falmouth lifeboat which went to the rescue needed rescuing herself. Typically, the lifeboat men shrugged off the potential danger.
Was there any point at which you thought you were in some considerable danger?
No, not really. Lamb's a long way away.
There were reports that you drifted several miles.
Oh, well, it all gets exaggerated, doesn't it?
How far did you drift?
Pass.
Well, back now to the warmth of the office and indeed back to the newsroom. It's here that the spotlight stories are discussed, the information is gathered, and somehow out of all this apparent chaos, something resembling a programme is devised. Now, inevitably, much of the day's news is to do with the so-called hard news, the tragedies and the deaths. 1984 saw a series of killings and murders, both sensational and tragic. It also, in the southwest, saw a number of dramatic court cases and the ability of some people to carry on fighting, apparently against all the odds. But out of all the tragedies, one death stood out. It didn't actually bring any sensational headlines, but more it brought affection and sadness. Cornwall said farewell to the Queen's favourite poet. Sir John Betjeman, poet laureate and lover of things Cornish, died in May at the age of 77. Sir John, one of the best-known and admired poets of his age, lived at Trebetherick. Cornwall said Sir John was in his blood. As a young boy, he came to know and love the county. The funeral, held at the nearby church of St Enodoc, was pure Betjeman, England on a wet summer's day, the coffin being carried across a golf course to the inaccessible church.
He always felt the tremendous contrast, I think, of coming down here, as he put it, driving past the oil-lit farms from the station in Wadebridge, to come out here, the haunted woods, and of course the cliff scenery, which he adored. Whoa!
Deaths of a more violent nature were in the news in January and February. 2 double killings involving shotguns brought calls from the police for stricter legislation over the sale of guns. In the sleepy village of Monacan on the Lizard Peninsula, an 18-year-old girl, Rosalind Richards, and a 31-year-old man, Rodney Pellow, died together in a caravan bedroom. Scandal about Rosalind's behaviour became big news. Inquiries about Rosalind's murder ended when her former lover, Walter Scott Challoner, was found dead of monoxide poisoning in his motor caravan. News of other tragic killings soon followed. Monica Telling, a wealthy, drug-taking, bisexual alcoholic, was killed by her husband Michael. He shot her, dumped the body near Exeter, and hacked off her head. He was jailed for life. The killing of 10-year-old Malcolm Matthews shocked all of Cornwall. A 16-year-old youth has been accused of his murder. Perhaps the most mysterious death was that of Dartington schoolgirl Cathy Pelly. The naked body of Cathy, an heiress to the Clark's shoe fortune, was found near a local beauty spot popular for swimming. In July, a woman police officer reenacted Cathy's last known movements. Details were as precise as possible, with the policewoman even wearing a wig to match Kathy's hair. The police remained baffled. One story suggested that marks found on her face and neck were caused by a ferocious swan which had killed her. In the end, an inquest jury returned an open verdict. Two other young women to capture national attention were Sarah Tisdall and Beverly Channing. It would be hard to imagine less similar cases. Sarah, the daughter of a Plymstock doctor, was jailed for 6 months after leaking classified government information to the Guardian newspaper. 24-year-old Beverly Channing was the problem girl who just wouldn't go away. Beverly, who had a long history of antisocial behaviour, including criminal damage and fire-raising, was released in the summer from a secure mental institution. The money for her treatment had run out. Within weeks, she was sleeping rough again on the streets of Plymouth. In April, Terence Rafferty was sent to jail after having held Caradon councillors and officials hostage at gunpoint. A long and complicated planning row with the council over 2 houses Rafferty built near Portbathick pushed him too far. He wasn't allowed to sell the houses because of restrictions imposed by the council. The case aroused enormous public interest.
I could have got planning permission if I'd have had plenty of money and been in the right clubs, etc., and all the rest of it. I've no doubt I would have had my planning permission, 15 years ago.
In the end, Rafferty served only 6 weeks, having been held in custody for 4 months. A week before the trial, all restrictions on the houses were lifted.
The explosion came just before...
October brought outrage and disbelief. The attempt by the IRA to effectively assassinate the British cabinet stunned the country. One of those killed was Mrs. Jean Shattuck, the wife of the Conservative Party's Western Area chairman. Their room was next door to where the bomb exploded. Miraculously, Gordon Shattuck survived. Later, he was asked if he would stay in politics.
Oh, good Lord, yes. Good Lord, yes. Crikey, my dear, crikey. If they think that would frighten... I mean, oh, dear me. Yes, no question about a thing like that. I'm only a voluntary worker in politics, but you don't just give in like that. My wife, if she was here... Well, none of you know her, but she was a tough lady, and she would be the last person to think of giving up. My goodness me. I mean, she wouldn't give up on anything, and neither would I. Oh, no, don't even contemplate that sort of thing. No, that would never occur.
A very brave man, Mr. Gordon Shattuck. As we've presented Spotlight over the year, one theme has occurred time and again. There's nothing new in people protesting, but in 1984, not only did we seem to see more demonstrations, but they involved a complete cross-section of the southwest community. Frustrations turned to anger, and anger turned to protest, in the streets, in the countryside, and outside council offices. But it was a threat to jobs that sparked off the biggest demonstration of all. Throughout 1984, Devonport Dockyard has had an uncertain future. Rumours about privatisation and subsequent job losses have dominated life at Europe's biggest naval yard. One day in August, the yard came to a standstill. Talk of 4,000 jobs going, along with the 700 already announced, resulted in the first strike at the yard for 12 years. 9,000 workers walked out, and about a third of those joined a demonstration march. There was mistrust of government policy.
I've been on my Tibbetts bike, if you like to put it that way, for the last 6 years. I worked for the British Steel Corporation in Hull Sideworks up in Cambuslang, and when they run down and made us redundant, I was fortunate enough to get a job at the dockyard in Portsmouth, and at that time they offered us jobs for the foreseeable future. It lasted 2 years. We're now here in Plymouth under the transfer scheme which they offered us at that time, and here we are again on the verge of redundancy.
If anybody seriously thinks that you could run the dockyards with 4,000 less people, that is a very great matter of concern to me. I've never used a figure of 4,000, and I've no reason to suppose you could run the dockyards with 4,000 less people. But if they really think you can, then that re-intensifies the need for me to look at the whole management structure that's involved.
Devon Education Chairman Ted Pinney was the subject of abuse and criticism outside County Hall. 1,000 demonstrators, parents, teachers and students, protested over the proposed cuts in the number of teachers. Some jobs were saved, but the demonstrations became increasingly bitter.
But don't let the underscore suffer as well, because after all they're going to come onto those just as much as the younger ones.
Hello, you on half term today then? Oh, this is an exciting place to be, isn't it?
I think Mr. Billy just gave a clear example of what he thinks of the people of Devon. I hope he changes his mind this afternoon.
Away from the cities, animal rights protesters became more militant. In Colompton, they barricaded the gates of a major poultry factory.
I'd like to see that, please. That tail's been crushed by brutal treatment. That is the condition that birds turn up at the slaughterhouse in. It's dazed, it's in shock, it can hardly walk.
The attempt to stop the lorry-load of chickens being delivered was followed later in the year by further protests over the transport and slaughter of animals. In the dairy industry, it wasn't the animals who were causing concern, but hardship being faced by the region's farmers. The new milk quota system and lower prices caused the situation to become critical.
But what can you do with them? I mean, there's nothing else we can do. We've got to kill them.
Have you got to the stage where you might send cows who are in calf?
Well, that's right, yes, obviously. I mean, if you've got the milk, there's nothing you can do with it other than either kill the cows or put cows on them. We've put 40 extra cows on cows, but we're a dairy farm, so the only answer is to kill the cows.
How do you feel about the situation?
It's terrible, absolutely terrible, especially in this part of the country. We're predominantly dairy.
Hunting, rarely out of the news, was back with a vengeance in September. There was an outcry when huntsmen shot and killed a stag in the centre of South Moulton in North Devon, but the hunt were unrepentant.
We say we're very sorry and we hate to cause anyone distress in any way, but we felt it was a thing we had to do. And if the same thing happened, we should do it again.
Fox hunting was high on the list of targets for the animal rights group. This year they used sprays to confuse the hounds.
I would say that if it's their business to go around killing wildlife, which by the way belongs to us all, for their pleasure, then it is our business to try as much as we can to save it when we can.
Not a bad shot, not exactly up to Steve Davies's standard, I will admit, but it's my way of enjoying myself at sport. I suppose, though, for most sportsmen, life is considerably more energetic and hectic than a game of snooker, and that's particularly so here in the southwest. And what a great year it's been for southwest sport. Almost inevitably, sailing was very prominent in that year. It was the year of Ostar, held once every 4 years. This time it made a national figure out of a local hero. For rugby fans, there was a taste of cup fever. But most remarkably, particularly for this part of the world, was that the thing that really grabbed the headlines was soccer. And it suddenly brought national attention to bear on the region. A third division club fighting against relegation suddenly began making a little bit of soccer history. The name of that club, Plymouth Argyle. No one really quite believed it. Argyle had become only the 6th third division team ever to reach the semi-finals of the FA Cup. There it all ended. But after some remarkable victories, there were plenty of memories and sweet dreams for fans and players.
Some of them want to get
John Hawes' celebration turned to despair as the Argyle boss became the third manager in the region to lose his job during 1984. Haw was replaced by Dave Smith. At Exeter City, the former England captain Jerry Francis promised great things. In May, Francis was sacked and he was replaced by Jim Eiley. At Torquay, Bruce Rioch left the club despite a faint chance of the team being promoted. He was replaced by former Chelsea star David Webb. Despite all the cup excitement, the year has ended with Argyle struggling in the 3rd division, Exeter relegated to the 4th, and Torquay also firmly in the bottom division. In rugby, Plymouth Albion came desperately close to creating their own piece of cup history. They took on the mighty Harlequins in the John Player Cup. Despite some brilliant play by Albion, they narrowly failed to reach the quarter-finals, hindered largely by the referee allowing an extra 10 minutes injury time. At county level, Devon had the better of Cornwall in a 2nd division relegation decider. Despite losing, Cornwall avoided the drop following a restructuring of the county championship. In athletics, whilst all eyes were on Los Angeles, at home the remarkable Tony Willis was preparing for the Disabled Olympics in New York.
Good job.
In June, Willis was rewarded with a collection of medals. At sea, perseverance of a different kind was required by 25-year-old Tim Baxton. He took on the awesome task of sailboarding around Britain. In mid-May, he rounded Land's End, having set off 2 weeks earlier from Southend to raise money for charity. Top-class international sailing came to Plymouth in June with the Observer single-handed transatlantic race. Held once every 4 years, it attracts the world's top professional yachtsmen along with brave amateurs. It's one of yachting's great challenges, and with boats now travelling faster than ever before, there was a small crop of abandonments, but fortunately without serious casualties. Those that survived arrived in Newport, Rhode Island with a wealth of stories to tell and a major achievement under their belts. The first 13 boats home all beat the previous record for the crossing. Southwest hopes ran high for a few days with the news that former Exeter policeman Peter Phillips was leading the fleet in his trimaran Travercrest Seaway, but a ripped sail meant that he eventually crossed the line in 4th position. He was still the first Englishman home. Peter Phillips' old rival, Che Blythe, was making headlines of his own, also off the American continent. In his trimaran Beefeater 2, Blythe and his crew Eric Blunn were attempting to break the Clipper record for sailing from New York to San Francisco. Off Cape Horn, the yacht capsized. Both men were rescued after spending several hours on the upturned boat. In October, there was more windsurfing off the Cornish coast, but this time it was championship stuff of a very different kind.
Absolutely fantastic, and good luck to all of our sportsmen in 1985. Well, right now we're in VT, that's the videotape room, where we've been looking back at a whole host of what have become known as the and finally items. Those spotlight stories that make you smile, the stories that were perhaps a little bit way out, or where the reporters were prepared to have a go at anything you care to mention. Well, surely the man with the biggest smile on his face this year was a vacuum cleaner salesman from Cornwall, and gosh, didn't he have something to smile about. In October, amidst a showbiz spectacular, Barry Dunstan from Chasewater became a millionaire overnight. It was the bingo jackpot that millions of newspaper readers had dreamed every day of winning. Barry, who's 38, celebrated with his mum.
Well done, boy.
Also a star in 1984 was reporter Martin Tusker. He went in at the deep end to audition for a part in a film being shot in a Caribbean-looking North Devon.
bright.
And I want you imagining playing it to a camera that you imagine just here. If you take a line almost on that palm tree, you know, and you do basically the BBC reporting that you normally would do. Yeah.
The last time we were involved in a tracking shot like this, we stuck the cameraman in a wheelbarrow and pulled him along some planks. So this is all a bit overwhelming, and this reporter is famous for forgetting his own words, let alone those on someone else's script.
We've just heard that Governor Baxter Thwaites has called for a confrontation with the British authorities to issue his demands. And as you can see from the carnival atmosphere here, this is not the isolated act of a fanatical minority, but a movement that has won the hearts and minds of the people.
Cut! You've guessed it. Don't ring us.
In February, yes, February, we featured a group of hardy Plymothians who swim in the sea all year round. Making a splash with them was reporter John Wormsley.
Oh, they've got to be mad. Oh!
Oh, oh,
It's cold. Very cold.
oh.
At times, you know, it all gets very silly, but people do love being silly.
Oh, God. I've got lipstick on me.
You think the people would have had enough of silly love songs? But look around and see it isn't so. Oh no. Some people want to fill the world with silly love songs. What's wrong with that? I'd like to know. 'Cause here I go again. I love you. I love you. I can't explain the feeling.
Good luck anyway. So there we have it. The great British inventors live on. Christopher Slade, BBC, The Holiday Inn.
Now, what sort of savage... Would you stop it? What sort of savage beast would do this to a man's favourite pullover? Is it the Beast of Exmoor? Will you stop it? Or is it the Hound of the Baskervilles? No, it's this.
Right, out your trains, quickly now, come along. One there, over there, make a nice circle right round the fire. Good boys, come on. That's it. Come on, Auntie Doris.
Some of the most amazing of Wendy's pets are these red-eyed tree frogs from Costa Rica, and their astonishing ability to stick to almost anything, including glass, strikes you the moment you walk in. Excuse me, I think I've got a frog in my throat.
I think we ought to get an interview with the winning pig there. Bubble and Squeak, anything to tell us about your successful audition?
All very silly, but some very nice memories there.
Yes, indeed, and that's about it, in fact. I hope that you enjoyed this review, and so from us, from Judy, and this piece of equipment which ends Spotlight every evening, we bid you a very good night.